Welcome to a WalterFootball.com real fantasy football draft for the 2022 season. We've been doing some mock drafts, but this is the real thing. Joined by Jacob Camenker and Kenny Ortiz. Jacob from the Sporting News. Jacob first, how are you? And then Kenny.
I'm doing great. I have the 7th pick today. Very unprepared for 7th, but we're going to see what happens. Just roll with the punches.
Nice. How are you, Kenny?
Oh, I'm feeling great. My air conditioning unit went out, so I'm going to have to spend a couple $1,000s on that. Other than that, life is great.
Wow, that kind of sucks. Well, at least it's September already.
Right?
Maybe you don't have to get it fixed because you're moving, right? So,
I mean, I have a wife though who.
Okay, well there it goes. Okay, so we're about to start this. This is a well, that was fast.
Couple picks came in very quickly.
Yeah, that was fast. So Taylor, McCaffrey, and Henry all went. So I get to decide my pick now. As I just finished this. So yeah, I mean every player here is risky in the first round, at least the running backs. You can make a bearish case for all of them. I think Dalvin Cook has amazing upside though. I don't have him in any other league, so this feels weird to take Cook, but I'm going to take him at number 4. What do you guys think about that?
I think that was probably the right move there because it's either him or Eckler, and Eckler's probably in the better offense and may have bigger upside because he catches a little more passes than Cook, I would think, but he's not quite as durable as Cook because of his size, which sounds weird because Cook has been banged up over the years, but I think you made the right move there.
Cook is my number 2 player overall in standard, so obviously I like it. As you said, there's question marks on all these guys, but I think Cook is the safest of the bunch.
Who's your number 1?
In standard, Jonathan Taylor. Well, in both PPR and standard, I got Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, makes sense. Cooper Kupp just went the first receiver off the board, and then Justin Jefferson. So we have the receivers going. Apparently, Eckler is still on the clock. So Jacob, are you taking him?
I am thinking about it. I'm between him and another back, probably. Man, this is tough. I'm going to take my time and think about this because both of these guys play on good offenses. Both of them should get a lot of work this year. I'm just trying to figure out which is the safer pick. Yeah, I got to go with Eckler. At the 7th pick, I feel like I can't go away from him. He's too good of a value at that point. I didn't expect him to make it to me, so I'm happy with him as my top running back. I may have to grab extra insurance behind him just in case he gets banged up, but I'm glad to have him.
I like the pick, but it's Kenny's probably not happy about it, right?
Eckler's fine. I mean, I've always been down on Eckler compared to everyone else because I wasn't convinced he's a legitimate NFL running back long term, but they have figured out a way to use him. He doesn't get a ton of carries, so I think the way they use him is smart. It keeps him healthy. He has proven that he is worthy of the value. So I've been proven wrong. Unless he gets hurt week 1, he's out for the year. Sorry, Jacob.
That's okay. It could happen to me. I think I had Eckler in this league last year too, and I think it backfired for me immensely. But Mixon just went. That was the other guy I was considering. So, I mean, I think he's going to have a good year. I think he's going to get a ton of carries in that Bengals offense. But I don't know. It was really a coin flip between him and Eckler, but I felt like I had to go with Eckler because I think his ceiling's slightly higher.
Yeah, okay, sorry, Walt.
No, go. You go.
I love Mixon as a talent. Always have. I've been a big Mixon fan. I actually had him 5th. I have him ranked 5th overall in standard. So I like him a lot in any format, really.
I think you can make the case that Mixon has a huge upside as well. Just because Cincinnati really improved its offensive line this year. And I've said this before. I think there's a legitimate chance Mixon leads the league in rushing. But Kenny, you're on the clock. Actually, you just took Nick Chubb. Do you want to mention that? And I think you're about to be up again because WF Dev Team is on auto draft. I know he's on vacation. So,
okay. So I'm going to kind of talk out loud for a second. I'm going to the best player I have on the board is a guy I've drafted in every single league. And so I'm actually going to take the guy I have 2nd next, only because I'm a little nervous about having this guy in literally every single league. And so I'm going to take Aaron Jones here because he's the second best player in the board in my opinion. And I just want to go running back this year. I mean, every draft and mock draft I've done where I don't go running back, I eventually hate my team. I just, and so I think you can make a strong case for Jefferson and Kupp and some of the other guys early, but I just hate my team every time I draft so I end up taking running back. I was considering Kamara there who just went, but I literally have Kamara in every single league. And if he ends up getting suspended, that'll tank every single league. So I figured maybe I'll skip him in one league.
So Charlie just joined us. Charlie Campbell, our senior NFL draft analyst at WalterFootball.com. Charlie, how are you?
All right. How you guys doing?
Doing great. It's cool to be drafting with everyone. I think it's the first time we've ever had 4 people on here.
Nice.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've done 3, but I don't think we've ever had 4. So
yeah. So where are you drafting, Charlie? I didn't. I kind of was rushing and I didn't get to see your first pick, or maybe
we took Jonathan Taylor. Me and
your
my
first. Okay.
co-GM. Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
So yeah, we're doing the long wait between picks, but at least we can feel good about getting that first one right.
Yeah, that's usually how it is. It's nice to draft first, and then you're just waiting a while. I was once in a 20-team league, so it was pretty brutal. I think I was drafting like 20th too, so I went 20, 21, and then I had to wait a long time. So yeah, I know the feeling.
20 teams. That didn't even sound fun.
No, it was not fun. If you had injuries, you were done. You were done. So Fournette just went, and I'm kind of in the same mindset as you, Kenny. Like whenever I don't go heavy running back early, I just don't like it. Obviously, mock drafts, we've done those, and I usually end up at least with 2 running backs in the first 3 picks. I'm going to take Javonte Williams. I know he has to compete with Melvin Gordon for the touches, but he's such a good player. I think he's so talented. And Melvin Gordon even said, like, this is Javonte Williams' team. And Melvin Gordon almost signed with Baltimore this offseason. So I'm not very concerned about this. And in fact, I think Javonte Williams, because of Melvin Gordon, is providing good value.
Yeah, I don't get why. If I'm Melvin Gordon, I would have signed with the Ravens because I feel like they have more carries to go around, especially if he really believes like Javonte Williams is the guy there. Right. Just at least with the injuries to Dobbins and Edwards, you'd be pretty guaranteed to be the starter, I think, ahead of Mike Davis. So that's I like the Javonte Williams pick, but I'm just trying to logic out Melvin Gordon's decision making now.
Maybe he likes living in Denver because of certain products that are illegal. I don't know.
But you still get tested though in the NFL.
Oh, really? I thought that was a thing of the past. I didn't realize that.
Well, I mean, Josh Gordon would.
Oh, that's a good point. I forgot about him.
Poor Josh Gordon.
Good times.
Yeah. James Conner just went. James Conner has been going in the second round of most of my leagues, and not a big fan. I know Kenny, you even like him less than I do, and I don't like him at all. So,
I like good players.
Yeah, I mean, Connor's he has the touch. He's gonna have all the touches, so there's opportunity. So I wouldn't completely avoid him, but second round is just way too early. He won the second round of our league. We have another league together, Jacob, Kenny, and I, and he won the second round. I was shocked by that.
Yeah, we had that, and Debo I think went 11th overall in that league, which I thought was too early as well.
Yeah, and Antonio Gibson went 3rd before the shooting. So it's crazy. All right, Charlie, you're on the clock. What are you doing here?
Well, me and my co-GM here, we're going to go with Kelsey and Evans. Just with Kansas City and what they've done at receiver with Tyreek leaving, I think Kelsey's going to be in for a huge year as long as he stays healthy. Just in terms of mismatch potential, I think he brings more to the table than the receivers that they brought in. And Evans is just Mr. Reliable. And generally, I do like to have 2 running backs in the first 3 picks. But, running back is – I always feel like it's harder to land good receivers during the season than it is good running backs. I think when you have injuries that come through, you can pick up some guys that are Robinson from the Jaguars, who comes out of nowhere, guys like that I think it's a little easier to do that, the running back than receiver. So we just felt like in terms of value, those guys were the best ones available.
Yeah, that definitely safer. And I love Evans. I was gonna if Williams wasn't there, I think I would have taken Evans. So I love that pick.
Yeah, I like that strategy because now, Charlie, you're in a position where you have the number one running back, the number one tight end, I think by far, because Kelsey will get so many targets with Tyreek Hill gone. And then Mike Evans is going to be a wide receiver one. He might not be the number one guy, but you've got like a stud at every position. And waiting for the second running back, maybe not ideal, but there is some depth in this year's running back class. Like you have to get through some dead spots.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, you're going to be able to land some upside guys.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's kind of some doing practice mocks. You have some kind of dead spots, in certain parts of the draft with running back, but then you find some better value, at different parts. So, it's a crapshoot like anything. But yeah, I really was hoping to get DeAndre Swift. So you stole that from me, Jacob. And but I knew it was a long shot, but I really was hoping to get him in the second round.
I was really happy he was on the board for me coming back because most of the drafts I've done, he's gone top 15. So I was not anticipating him being available. So getting him to pair with Eckler, they both have some injury concerns, but they both also catch a lot of passes and have great offensive line. So I was excited about that pick.
Well, and one thing that I talk about with Walt, that one of my big strategies is, and it's worked well, the past, I think, two or three seasons in a row, my co-team and we've had the highest scoring team in the league for the season. We've never won the championship because we've lost in the playoffs. But one of my big strategies is targeting players in contract years. And Swift is definitely a guy that applies to. He's a free agent after this season. He's got a lot of money riding on this season. So I think he's going to play through injuries in a way that he hasn't in previous years. So I definitely think that Swift is a good pick. I had a draft earlier today in a PPR league this morning, and I was able to get him in the second round, and I was pretty stoked about that. So definitely, I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, the contract year guys are always enticing. I feel that way about someone else who will get drafted later that I'll talk about.
Yeah, and you're up right now, Jacob. So what are you doing?
Oh, okay, I'm going to take Michael Pittman. He's going to have a great rapport with Matt Ryan. I feel like his upside is pretty high. I needed a receiver, and he's balled out pretty well, and Matt Ryan has really thrown his way a lot in the preseason. So I feel like he's going to get a ton of targets. I know this isn't a PPR league, but he's going to be a 100 catch, 1,000 receiving yards, and he has the size needed to get double-digit touchdowns. So as a top receiver to pair with my top running backs, I'm very happy, and I have players that exclusively wear blue jerseys, so that's a kind of a nice plus at this point.
Solid.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love the Pittman pick. I think there are several receivers that look great in the third round. I just took Mike Williams. I was debating between Williams and AJ Brown, and I like Williams a little bit more, but I have Williams on all my teams, so I thought maybe I should differentiate myself. But I'd like him more just because the upside in that passing offense. I think the Eagles score a lot of points as well, but they run a lot. So AJ Brown doesn't have the upside that Williams has. So Kenny, you're up right after this. I didn't intro this properly, or it was very quick. So please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit the link in the description for the merch store. I'm wearing a WalterFootball t-shirt. So if you order one of those or subscribe, all that would help us out a lot. Kenny, you're up with your third pick. So what are you doing?
Yeah, I like my running backs. My starting running backs. I don't love this region of the draft for running back. There is one guy I like, but don't love. But I think I'm going to go receiver here, and this may sound like a reach to some guys, but I just think this is first round talent potential, and so it's Michael Thomas. It's risky to some people, but I don't think anyone would be shocked if we get to the end of the year and Michael Thomas is like wide receiver 4, right? I don't think anyone would be shocked by that. I'm up again, and so I'm going to go. I'm going to go receiver again, probably here because I really like the receivers that are here, and I don't think any of them will make a back to me. And so I will. Is that accurate? I'm thinking out loud right now. There is one running back I really like here, who almost certainly will not make it back to me by the time I'm there. And I'm just trying to guesstimate who you guys are going to take. Is there a?
Well, you have a long while until you're up again. So
I know. So this is the moment. Go, man. None of these guys are going to make it back to me. Am I okay with miss? Who am I be most okay missing out on? Is kind of is the way I'm asking myself right this moment. And I think I'm going to go receiver since Michael Thomas was a riskier pick. I'll probably go with a receiver I really like here, and that's DJ Moore. DJ Moore, excellent talent, excellent in the system. Touchdowns have been low every year of his career. I just think it's dumb luck. I don't think it's because he's a bad red zone player or anything like that. I think just dumb luck. And Baker Mayfield might be the best quarterback he's ever played with, isn't it? In his career, which is sort of a sad thing to say, but I think literally it might be the best quarterback he's ever played with. So maybe this is the year he puts up the touchdowns and jumps into that wide receiver 1 territory.
Yeah, I do think Baker's the best quarterback he's played with, at least over the last 3 years. I love Teddy Bridgewater as much as the next guy, but he doesn't have the same ceiling that Baker does when healthy.
What's this Philip Walker the shenanigans going on here? He's fantastic. Did you see what he did in the XFL? Okay, Justin Herbert went, Allen Robinson off the clock, and I definitely agree that it's the best quarterback by far. And a lot of people don't like that move. And when the Panthers got Mayfield, some people are like, "Oh, is Sam Darnold still going to start?" And I'm like, "That's insane. I really don't understand that philosophy." Jacob, you're up again.
Yeah, I'm trying to make my pick. I've got a couple of receivers and a running back I'm looking at. I think I'm going to take an upside swing at receiver and go with Gabe Davis. I just think, you look at that team and that Bills offense is going to be good. They're going to throw the ball a lot. Maybe it's a little early for Gabe Davis, but Stephon Diggs is still going to command and demand attention. So you're going to have Jalen Ramsey on him in the opener. That's going to open up Gabe Davis for more opportunities. He had 4 touchdowns and 200 yards against the Chiefs. He's not going to do that every week, but he's clearly a big play threat. He can take the ball to the house pretty much anytime. And Josh Allen liked throwing him in that playoff game. So I'm excited to see what they can do with him really being their true number 2 receiver, and there not being as many veterans to take away touches for him. So I'm glad to get him at that point. But there were other picks on the clock that I'm sure you're about to take one of the guys I was thinking about taking, Walt.
Well, we've done so many mocks together. You probably know like what I'm going to do. Do you want to? Well, I shouldn't say. I was about to say, do you want to guess? But I don't like naming players who weren't drafted. I think that's just bad for fantasy. And plus, like people drafting in this league, I'm sure are watching this video. But Jacob, is ATN the guy you thought I was going to take?
It is. I was going to put his name in the chat and just hit enter when you made your pick. But yeah, Travis Etienne was the guy. I was like, well, I don't know. I kind of want him, but Walt's going to take him. So.
Yeah, I have him in all my leagues, all my mocks, I think. He's so explosive, and people just forget about him because he was out last year. And now he's going to be playing with Trevor Lawrence, with a real coach, an experienced quarterback. I think Jacksonville is going to be a lot better than people think. So, yeah, I'm all over Etienne. But Kenny and Charlie, what do you think about Etienne? Because, like, Jacob and I have talked about him, like, so much this month.
Yeah, I definitely think that he's a good pick. I think he's a great fit in the Peterson offense, and he has history with Trevor Lawrence, so that should help him hit the ground running, as opposed to if he was with a quarterback he hadn't played with before. So that really comes into play as a receiver. They have so many years together in practice and running routes and knowing the kind of quarterback he's dealing with. So I think that he could end up being essentially, even though he's not a rookie, but he kind of is. I think he could really hit the ground running.
I like him as a player. I don't know that I love him in this spot only because I haven't seen him do it. And I actually am more of a higher believer in James Robinson than everyone else. It seems like I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said the name. Sorry. Maybe that tips my hand a bit. Sorry. I tend to be I think that backfield might be more split, or I'm unsure. So I like Etienne as a player a lot, and I think it makes sense to, this is the right spot to draft him. I'm just not sure what's going to happen with that offense and that team just yet. So that makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, Robinson's coming off injury. It's not like he's healthy. So, I mean, that's the issue there. So, Charlie, you took McLaurin and Dillon. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I took we went with McLaurin because he's a number one receiver. I think you get to the 4th, 5th round, it's harder to find those true number ones. Rookie receivers always can take some time to transition to the league, so I'm not worried about Jahan Dotson stealing targets, especially in the beginning of the year. And then with Dillon, it just felt to me watching the Packers late in the season that they were transitioning more to him in the ground game, and Aaron Jones was, still the featured guy when they're in the passing attack. But I think Dillon's going to he'll be the goal line guy. Obviously, he's massive and, brings size to the table that Jones doesn't have. I think he's just kind of might be the guy that they're gradually moving towards as the lead back, and Jones as the receiving back, and trying to keep them both healthy for the whole season.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot with Dillon. I was considering McLaurin as well. It just terrifies me though. Like the one thing about McLaurin, like not as a player, he's fantastic, but like I think the Redskins team is going to be so bad this year. I think they're going to be demoralized by Carson Wentz. And I would like to avoid anyone from that team, but if I'm wrong, I mean that's going to be a great pick. I just worry about how the team's going to shape up.
Yeah, and I agree they could struggle, but I do think McLaurin could be a garbage time dangerous receiver. So that at least helps him in terms of I think I remember years ago that 2015 season where I had a team that just killed it thanks to Blake Bortles and Allen Robinson in garbage time.
That's right.
So you never know who that's going to be, but that can be tough to predict. But if you hit it, you get some big points.
Yeah, Blake Bortles fooled a lot of people with those garbage stats. People thought he was
35
good.
touchdowns.
It's crazy,
season.
isn't it?
35 touchdown passes. Yeah,
it's crazy,
unreal.
There's some great
the thing you just said there, I think, is if you nail that, right? Or Walt, you're on the clock. Sorry.
Yeah. No, real quick, I took Amon-Ra St. Brown. No surprise to anyone who's been listening. I mean, we saw what he did at the end of the year, and I expect that to continue. He's gonna have experience now, so I think he's gonna have a big year. And I love the Lions overall. I just said very quickly that Bortles had some outstanding coaching that year, and then not so much later. So, Kenny, what were you saying?
Yeah, I think the garbage time thing is interesting because I hear people talk about that in fantasy a lot. Oh, they'll be behind. There'll be a lot of garbage. But the reality is, like, if that was easy to predict, well, then the worst quarterbacks in the NFL would all be high fantasy draft picks. Like, the reason why bad quarterbacks don't get drafted high is because most of the time they don't put up stats. Sometimes they do, but like chasing the garbage time, you actually miss out more. I'd prefer good teams, but as Charlie said, if you hit it, it's gold, because you got some late round guys that are scoring lots of fantasy points.
That's interesting. So, like, how would you go about predicting it? I guess you're saying you should not predict it, but like it does happen though. Like, and I think like Matt Ryan is another example where like when the Falcons have been ahead in the past, Matt Ryan has not produced good stats, but his best statistical games have come from he's down 24 points in the second half and he throws a ton.
Right. I just think it's hard. It's much hard. It does happen, right? For sure. I think it's much, much harder to predict than some people would like you to believe.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wonder I mean, I talked about the Jacksonville coaching. It was outstanding that year. And I mean, Allen Robinson is a fantastic receiver.
Right.
And it's like Blake Bortles was such a bad quarterback. And yet he produced such great numbers in completely meaningless action. So we had Breece Hall come off the board. Not a fan there. I mean, he's not the starter, and he's not looked good in the preseason. I know like that's not the end all be all. Because
I personally have I'm very skeptical of rookie running backs, even though I might love a guy, coming out of college and think he's going to be a great pro, but one of the things that's really hard to gauge is just how well the rookie knows the playbook, because teams aren't going to say that out loud. They don't want other teams to know. And the coaches, as far as protecting the quarterback, they don't want to, put in a guy who doesn't know what he's doing in terms of blitz protection, or, some rookies really struggle with just knowing what they're supposed to do on plays, knowing the offense and well enough. So, it's just hard to tell. So in general, I kind of avoid rookies, but once you get into the season and you kind of start seeing guys produce, and then you'll have some worth picking up. But in the draft itself, I don't really trust the rookies, because you don't know how well that guy is prepared to take on a big role.
And there are some exceptions. And Damian Pierce just went off the board. Jacob took him. I actually like that pick a lot. Because he's already been named the starter. They actually cut Marlon Mack and they brought him back. I mean, Mack was playing the fourth quarter. So we know that Pierce has the job for sure. And like, I think knowing that makes him safer than most rookie running backs, because I agree with you, Charlie. I'm not a fan of rookie running backs in general, but there are exceptions. So Jacob, do you want to talk about Pierce?
Right. Yeah, I think Pierce just had, well, first of all, I'm mad because I wanted Amon-Ra St. Brown. I thought this time you weren't going to take him. I was like, no, well, it's got someone else on it. I don't know why I would think that, because you take him in the 5th round every time. So that's
right.
That's bad on my part. Then Lamar Jackson went off the board, who I also really wanted, because talk about a guy on a contract year who I think could have an MVP type season, because I mean, he needs to earn that money, and he's coming off his worst season. He's coming off an injured season. And I think he's going to run like crazy and throw a lot this year, while protecting himself. But I think he's going to be in good shape. So anyway, I came down to Damian Pierce in the end with those guys off the board, because I think Pierce has just a ton of upside. He looked great in the preseason. I think he averaged like 7.8 yards per carry. Granted, small sample size, but it was more than any other running back with more than 10 carries. So I was happy with how he performed. And the fact that they cut Marlon Mack signals like, hey, we're not worried about this guy. He's going to be in good shape. So that's why I went with him. But yeah, most rookie running backs I'd be concerned by. They're really hit or miss for the most part, especially early. But I feel like round 5 is my RB3. I'll be okay.
Yeah, for sure. So Kenny, you just took a couple of guys, Josh Jacobs, Deontay Johnson. You want to talk about them?
I mean, anyone who knows me knows these are not players that are a surprise to anyone who knows me. They're just great. I like great players that are good no matter what the system, no matter how good the team is. And shockingly, Jacobs was one of the guys I was considering my last pick. All the guys are gone now, so I can mention them. I was torn between DJ Moore or Terry McLaurin. McLaurin Campbell took, or I was thinking about J.K. Dobbins or Josh Jacobs. I was like, those are the 4 guys that I was considering. And the fact that one of them is still sitting there when it came back around makes it an easy pick, obviously.
Yeah. Are you concerned at all with Josh McDaniels being the coach of the Raiders? Because if it was anyone else, I'd be on board with that pick. But McDaniels is infamous for using 3-4 running backs. Like, can you see a scenario where he has like Amir Abdullah just running the ball in the second half? Like, I just worried about that.
I can't put anything past Josh McDaniels, who you famously once called Josh McHandles. Of course. But as my 3rd running back, I just think the talent's too good. I am of the belief most of the time the best players eventually get to play on NFL teams. There are some really stupid coaches out there, that's not the case. But generally, the most talented players eventually get most of the handles.
Yeah, that's true. I like Deontay Johnson quite a bit. If St. Brown wasn't there, I think I would have taken Johnson.
That's who I was hoping you would take.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're up again, Jacob.
All right. I'm going to take a receiver with upside here again. Just I got 3 backs, so I want 3 receivers. Jerry Jeudy's going to be playing with Russell Wilson, easily the best quarterback he's had. And like Kenny said, you got to go for talented players after a certain point. And Jerry Jeudy was one of my favorite receivers in the draft class he was selected. He hasn't put it all together. He's had some drop issues, but I think maybe Nathaniel Hackett gets the most out of him. Maybe he develops a good rapport with Russell Wilson. So I'm pretty happy to get him in the 6th round here. He's probably one of my favorites of the receivers still on the board. So no issues taking him here.
Yeah, I was actually wondering if I was going to take him just because I have Javonte Williams. If I didn't have him, obviously he would be my pick. I just hate having the running back receiver from the same team. But if he made it back to me, I was still going to take him.
Yeah, I think that would have been a good move. Like, it limits your upside, but you can do that sometimes. I've told you this, Walt, but Kenny and Charlie, in one of my fantasy leagues, I ended up drafting both Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon because the running back value on the board was basically like I needed a running back, and AJ Dillon was far and away the best player. So it's like, maybe not the most ideal scenario, but you get 100% of the rushing yards. And then, if you do the running back wide receiver type thing, they're going to cannibalize each other a bit, but you still have a chance for multiple touchdowns. And you always have the chance of a running back throwing a halfback pass to that receiver. I've talked about that with my fantasy boss at Sporting News. And he would always be like, why do you think that's going to happen? I'll be like, I just have to believe.
That's funny. And I said this last time. I don't think usually you would never do that. But I think it's different in this case because the Packers really don't have any receivers. So Aaron Jones is going to function as a receiver, basically. He's going to catch so many passes. So Dillon's going to get all the carries. Well, not all, most of the carries. Jones is going to get a bunch of receptions. So I think it's almost like having a running back and receiver on the same team.
True.
Yeah. I am up again. And Kareem Hunt's still available. I've talked about him before where he just has the insane upside because if Nick Chubb goes down, he's suddenly a top 15 player. If Chubb were to go down tomorrow with an injury, Hunt would be a 2nd round pick. So he has the upside, but you could also play him because he gets a number of touches. So he's someone I love to have because just for that insane upside.
Right.
Yeah. So Hunt is off the board. We just had Edmonds go. Kenny, I imagine you don't like that pick.
I think I have him ranked as a 12th round pick.
Yeah, I don't understand why Edmonds is going so much earlier than Mostert. Mostert's better. I know the injury concern, but still, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I've watched some of these. There's a lot of guys that I watch them play and I go, it's just a guy, and other people disagree. I guess I don't know. It's weird that we don't all have the same opinion.
Yeah, Edmonds, he's a good pass catching back in my mind. He can do a little bit of that, and he's okay between the tackles, but he's on the smaller side to me. So I don't know why people are assuming automatically that because they signed him, he's the lead back, and Raheem Mostert has injury issues, and if he goes down, Edmonds is going to be the leader there. They still have other guys there, like Myles Gaskin and Salvin Ahmed. And I know it's a different coaching staff, but Miami has mixed those guys up in the past, and San Francisco's running back room has kind of done the same thing for the most part under Shanahan. That's where McDaniel's coming from.
Yeah. So Charlie, you're up for 2 picks. So what are you doing?
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out.
Well, what are you doing? We can talk about the other picks.
Yeah, you guys go ahead. We're trying to figure out what we're gonna do here.
Yeah. Elijah Moore would have looked a lot better maybe a month ago before we saw, well, first of all, Zach Wilson look bad and then get hurt. And then Joe Flacco threw a pick 6 against the backups against the Giants. It's funny that the Jets played the starters against the Giants backups, and by the time the Jets starters left the game, the Giants were up 10-3. So it wasn't a good look. I don't know how they're going to be competitive. Elijah Moore is a fantastic talent, but man, in that offense, it's just going to be bad.
I thought about starting a fantasy league where you get points for the age of your girlfriend, and then Zach Wilson would be a 1st round pick.
Nice.
Oh man, I didn't know where you were going with that for a minute.
I thought like when you said your girlfriend, I thought like the fantasy drafter's girlfriend.
Oh, no.
You could like hook
the
up
player-
with the 80-year-old woman at the bar like just before you draft, so you win.
I was just figuring out a way to work that in. I wasn't sure how to do it.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I don't know who else would do well, but yeah, he would be a first round pick. Only in that league, though. It's crazy how bad he's looked. I thought he would be better. Like I considered the Jets a possible dark horse because he had so much potential coming into the NFL. And I know it's brief action, it's the preseason, but he looked like lost. He just doesn't seem like to know like what's going on the field. So maybe he gets it together eventually, but I'm starting to doubt that.
Yeah, he just hasn't developed at all. It looks like, I know it's just been a year, and he was probably going to be 2 years to develop into a potentially solid starter. But the early returns are just not looking good at all.
No, definitely not. All right, so Charlie, you made your picks: Joe Burrow or Amari Cooper. Do you want to talk about them?
Yeah, we decided to go with Burrow because we needed a starting quarterback, and we liked him more of the most of the options available. Pretty safe to have a good year, assuming he's completely healed up from the appendectomy. And then with Cooper, we didn't really like a lot of the receivers on the board, but he was one of the few true number ones left. So we felt like we'd rather go with a guy with number one potential that has a good quarterback in time, but you just kind of have to wait. And he's capable of huge games. I've had him on teams and he drives you crazy because he'll have 2 weeks where he produces next to nothing, and then he'll have a week or two where he's huge. So he's kind of frustrating, but at this point in the draft, there aren't many number one receivers left.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get his best production come playoff time for sure.
Right.
Watson will be back after 11 games.
Yeah, playoff time, he'll be a lot. He'll definitely be a guy that you might want to start because of having Deshaun Watson back.
Yeah. Stevenson coming off the board is interesting. I liked them a lot earlier, and then he was playing in the preseason, and Damian Harris was resting with the starters, so kind of cooled off on him a little bit, but I still like that. I in the 7th round, it's a fine pick.
Yeah, Belichick will use both of them. It's just a matter of whether Matt Patricia's offense is going to be anything remotely capable. It did not look great in the preseason, but I trust Belichick to figure things out, I would hope.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game with Miami. We have our picks podcast in 5 days. I'm curious to hear your opinion on it. Come Tuesday. All right, so Devontae Smith went, so I'm on the clock again. So I want a receiver. I want my third wideout. There's a guy I'm considering, but for reasons I'm not going to take him. Maybe he'll come back to me. I doubt it. I just don't want to, and I'll mention why later. But I'm going to take. It's like Brandon Cooks is still available. He's the first time I'm having him on a team. But I mean, he's I think Kenny would agree. I mean, if you have the philosophy of just drafting great players, I mean, Brandon Cooks is a great talent. The issue is the quarterback, obviously, with Davis Mills, but Mills is going to have more experience now. And Cooks can still produce. So I'm fine with this.
I also don't think Mills is going to be a total disaster. How's that for a compliment?
Nice.
Not a total disaster.
I'll take it because Houston's quarterbacking was disastrous at times last year.
I'm a positive person, guys.
Unless you talk about James Conner.
That's right.
I did not want Brandon Cooks to make it to me because I would have felt like I had to pick him, and I have Damian Pierce. So thank you for taking him.
Oh, no problem. It was the same sort of conflict for me with another player. So I'm sure people who have been listening know who I like, and I'm sure Jacob's going to take him.
Now I have to figure out who it is, though.
Yeah, we'll see. Well,
I know who it is. Okay, yep.
Yeah. Are you going to take him?
I don't know. I wasn't planning on it, actually, so.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe it'll get back to me. Yeah, you're up after Tom Brady. I think we don't have quarterbacks. Kenny and I are kind of infamous for waiting till forever to take a quarterback.
Although I did take a quarterback in the 8th round of our draft last week, which is remarkably early for me.
Well, you took a tight end early too. I was so shocked.
Tight end in the 7th. I couldn't believe it. I regret it. It was a bad choice.
I was like, is this a Kenny doppelganger? Like, what is going on here? I didn't think it was you, honestly.
It was just really good value. I just I went for it. It's pretty rare for me to do. Yeah.
I couldn't. I'm still flabbergasted. Jacob, you're up.
Yeah, I'm looking at running backs here. I'm just trying to choose between one or another. Trying to decide who has the most upside. It's hard.
That's what she said.
Oh, man.
Sorry, it's low-hanging fruit. Sorry, I had to do it.
It's okay. You had to fill the dead air somehow. I really don't know. I've got like 3 on my board. I think I'm whittling it to 2. And am I going to get it down to 1 now? I better at some point.
45 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, I have one of these guys in a few leagues, and then the other one, I have the opposite of him in all of my leagues. So now I'm just going to take the guy I like better. I'm going with Damian Harris. He's averaged like 5 yards a carry during his career. And I know the offense didn't look great, and Ramondre Stevenson might steal some goal line touches, but he's my 4th running back here, and he's going to get carries either way. I don't think there's a situation in which Ramondre Stevenson takes all the carries from him. And if that did happen, it's late enough in the draft that I could just treat him like a really high-end handcuff. Not the ideal situation, but number 4 running back is a guy who might be a starter. So I'll take that any day of the week.
Hey, Jacob, he wouldn't have made it back to you because I would have drafted him in this spot.
Okay, I'm glad that I took him then because I was really torn there.
The Harris, I'm up in a second here, but I guess Harris and Stevenson, I like Stevenson more as a talent, but I do this exercise with myself every year around this time. I ask myself, are there rankings that I'm worried I'm wrong about? And like, I started thinking to myself this week, what if I'm wrong about Harris and Stevenson? What if Stevenson's not as good as I think he is? And like, I feel like I've discounted a guy who Harris just scored 15 touchdowns, right? What if I'm wrong? What if it's a split backfield? What if Harris is the right guy? And I feel like I've looked back a couple of the drafts I've done over the last 2 weeks, and I wonder if I made a mistake not drafting Harris in spots. And so I literally just had that thought 2 days ago.
Yeah, I've always liked him as a talent. I like Stevenson as well. Like, I like them both. I think Stevenson probably has more upside at this point. I think he's a little more LeGarrette Blount-like, but he's a little smaller than Blount. But I still think that there's a role for both of them in this backfield. But you're on the clock, Kenny, so I'll let you make your pick.
So this is my. I'll just think out loud for Walt's purpose. This is the moment where I go, I don't love any of these guys. Like, I don't love any of the players that I might get here at the running back and receiver positions. And anyone I draft here, equal value, I think, will be on the clock in the 8th or 9th round. So that's when I go, do I just go quarterback then? But like, I just feel like it's blasphemous for me to go quarterback in the 7th round. It's like a weird, I don't know. Like, I might as well just go quarterback because like they're all the same at this point. That's sort of my feeling with the crew that's on the board. But I will go, I will go wide receiver here. Probably there's one guy that I like more than the rest, ever so slightly. I'm going to go Bateman. I like him a little bit more than there's about 4 or 5 guys at receiver that I like here, but I like Bateman barely more than the rest of them.
I like Bateman for sure. And Trey Lance just went on my WF Dev team. Just he commented that he can't get into the league, that is why he's drafting defense in round 8, which I would never. I wouldn't even recommend defense in round 12, like let alone round 8. But although Kenny and I were in a league once where defense went number 1 overall, so
defense wins championships.
That's right. All right, you're up again, Kenny.
So there's a running back here that I kind of like, but I'm like, I don't know, but it's kind of just all slop after this point anyway. So I'm gonna go Antonio Gibson here. I don't know what to expect from Gibson. Obviously, if Brian Robinson were healthy, Gibson's not a guy I'm considering. Maybe in the 9th round, I'm looking at Gibson, not in the 8th. I don't know what Robinson's recovery is going to be like. That thank God for his sake. It's for he and his family. He looks like his shooting was not life threatening, which is really it's great for him, and it's remarkable to think about that. I have no clue what his healing process is going to be. Is Robinson going to play at all this year? And does Gibson just slide back into being what he was a year ago? It feels hard to tell, but as my fourth running back, I'll take a chance on him.
And it's funny, Kenny, because the two guys I was considering, I had Damian Harris, who I took, and Antonio Gibson, who
that's
you took.
funny. You want to trade? I'll send you Gibson for Harris if you're interested.
I think I'm good now, but check in a week from now. I might be panicking.
Nice. You're up, Jacob.
Yeah, this is a spot. I could take the guy that I know Walt wants, but I feel like the depth at receiver is still good. I feel like I can still get good players there, and I don't need another running back. And I could stack Russell Wilson with Jerry Jeudy. And Russell Wilson, to me, is clearly the best cornerback left on the board. And he has mobility, and he's in a good-looking offense, has good weapons, has good blocking. So I'm very happy to land him at this point. Feels like a good value at quarterback.
Yeah, it's it's great. I was considering Wilson until I remembered I have Javonte Williams. So I hate the quarterback running back pairing unless the running back's going to catch a ton of passes like McCaffrey level. And obviously not a lot of guys like Eckler, etc. But yeah, I don't like the quarterback running back conflict, but I love the Wilson pick there in the 8th round. And my guy made it back to me. I'm so surprised because that hasn't been happening in my drafts. It's Christian Kirk. So the reason I didn't take him earlier is because I had Travis Etienne. So I don't like that. But here in the 8th round, I think he's just way too good to pass up. So Christian Kirk was an inconsistent deep threat in Arizona. I think they misused him. I think Jacksonville is going to use him a lot smarter. And we saw proof of that in the preseason. They were just getting him the ball as much as possible. He had 8 targets in the first half, and that was 4 more than any other player on Jacksonville. He's their number 1 receiver by far. Marvin Jones is so old now. They traded Laviska Shenault. There's Zay Jones, but he's not that good. So they're going to really use Kirk a ton. Like he's going to get so many targets. And I said before that Jacksonville is going to be a lot better this year, especially offensively. So I want their number 1 receiver. So I'm happy Kirk dropped to me.
Yeah, and I did some math on Kirk too. Even if they were to just use him as a deep threat, Trevor Lawrence loves throwing the ball deep, and Kirk can go and get it. He had 4 drops last year on passes of 20-plus yards, but if he cleans that up, he's going to be a big play threat in addition to the target. So I love him. I have not drafted him once, even though I constantly love him. He just never fits what I'm doing. Every single time, that's what happens. But he's a good pick. I really like that selection.
Yeah, I like. He was actually one of the guys I was considering in this past spot. If I was going to go receiver, he was the best receiver on my board.
Yeah, and the other league we were doing, my friend Dave was drafting right next to me, and he had my rankings and cheat sheet printed out, so there was no way I was going to get Kirk. Chris Olave is gone. So is James Cook. So Charlie's on the board. So I'll make Charlie. I'll let Charlie make the picks, and then he can talk about it.
All right. Yep, we're gonna go with Robert Woods here to give us some receiving depth. Burks, has had issues practicing, and Woods being a veteran, I could see him being kind of a comfortable target for Ryan Tannehill. Just a solid, dependable guy. And then the next pick, we're gonna take Cordero Patterson for getting us another starting running back as a backup. I know the Falcons wanted to draft running backs earlier, and they didn't do it until day 3. And I think Patterson, year 2 in that offense, I think they're going to keep working him the ball. So just for solid, dependable depth here, I think those 2 guys made sense.
I'm so used to seeing Patterson as a receiver because Jacob and I always draft on Fantasy Football Calculator. It's just so weird to see running back there. Yeah, I mean, the Falcons are starved for playmaking talent, and like Patterson could go the distance anytime he touches the ball. We saw that last year, so that makes sense. Woods, I'm concerned about the torn ACL. I hate drafting guys coming off torn ACLs. There could be an exception, we saw Adrian Peterson go nuts that one year. but like generally, like it seems like they get like a lot of leg injuries and stuff, just overcompensating for that bad knee.
Yeah, I like the Woods pick at this point, though, because even if he is a little slow out of the gate, I feel like they wouldn't be rushing him back. It's not like I get that the Titans are going to be in that division battle because it's a bad division, but it's not like they would have acquired him and been like, we have to get him ready for week 1. They would have been like, yeah, we put him on PUP for 4 weeks if he's really not ready. So I like that pick. I think he's a fine backup to have this year.
Yeah, I mean, if as long as they don't rush him back, for sure. And Tennessee is going to have to throw more, just because they lost Howard Landry today, so their defense is going to be worse. So maybe Tannehill is that garbage quarterback that we were talking about before. I'm kind of torn on 2 players at different positions, and I think that I will go with. Let's see here. I'm going to go quarterback. I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers just because I think the quarterbacks dry up faster. But you know, I was a little torn on it. It's the first time I have Rodgers, and obviously he doesn't have Devontae Adams, but Rodgers is so good. I think that he's going to make a good receiver out of someone else he has on the roster. And against the bad teams, he's going to be great regardless. So at the very least, he maybe the DMT will give him some purple aliens will come down and give him some good receivers.
I love Rodgers in the 9th round here. I was, in my mind, if you got to me here, I probably would have taken him here. I'm the last one without a quarterback, so I guess I've got a few rounds to go still. Let's see how long I can last. But no, I think Rodgers is great, and I think he's got every. I mean, I think at the end of the year he could be the 9th best quarterback or the number 1. I mean, I think he's that kind of talent, right? I don't think anyone would be surprised if he's a top 3 fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. I would have normally waited on quarterbacks, but we have like 4 guys drafting on auto draft, and I'm afraid that they're going to start taking backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, like that draft we did the other day when there were 4 quarterbacks taken by one team. That was not great.
This was like the first 7 rounds they took 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah, it was pretty awful.
Yeah. I like Fantasy Football Calculator, but their AI is so bad. Jacob, you took George Pickens. So for anyone listening for the first time, why do you like Pickens so much?
I love Pickens. He's looked great in the preseason and in training camp. He's developed good chemistry seemingly with all 3 quarterbacks. He has great body control. The Steelers know how to use rookie wide receivers. I mean, you look at Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Chase Claypool. They all had fantasy-relevant rookie seasons, and I think Pickens could eventually be a top 2 target for this team. I think Deontay Johnson's ahead of him. I think Pat Freiermuth is ahead of him, but if Kenny Pickett takes over in week 3 and really likes throwing to Pickens, his fellow rookie, that could be a lethal combination. So getting him as my 4th receiver and as kind of a guy with immense upside and I think a decent floor, I'm really happy with that in the 9th round. I've taken him in the 8th round of so many drafts, so getting him around later is real nice.
Yeah. I think a good mental exercise is like, think about like how much earlier George Pickens would be drafted in these fantasy leagues if he were taken in the top 15 overall in the NFL draft. Because, I mean, Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, Pickens was going to go that high or maybe around that area if it wasn't for character concerns, right? Is Charlie still there?
I think he's muted.
Oh, Charlie, you're
yeah,
muted.
I'm here. Sorry, my little one is in the area. She's playing, so I'm trying to spare you guys
Nice.
the distraction. Give myself a little home field disadvantage there, but that's okay. So yeah, between dogs, Yorkie that barks a lot, and a 3-year-old little girl who's super high energy, it's not a quiet house, I can tell you.
I just asked, like, where do you think George Pickens would have gone in the NFL draft if he didn't have any character concerns?
I think he would have been a 1st rounder for sure. Yeah, I mean, skill set wise, scouts across the league were just said this guy's got it. So they raved about him on the field. He would have, even with the ACL. I mean, that didn't stop the Lions from trading up for Jameson Williams, and
Right.
we've seen plenty of guys coming off injury. Simmons with the Titans. There's just been a long list of that. So. He was healthy enough to play at the end of the year for Georgia. Not a lot, but he contributed, had a huge catch in the national championship game. That was a really clutch play to help them, get the offense scoring enough to support the defense. But yeah, he's a first round talent all day long. So those Steelers receivers, there's a real good amount of talent there. It's just hard from a fantasy perspective to know who could be clicking the most with Kenny Pickett or Trubisky. It's just hard to predict which guys really are worth taking, because you have the options there with Pickens and Deontay and Claypool. It's just hard to know among that group who's worth taking and who you should pass on.
Yeah, for sure. I love Pickens as a talent, though. So I'm a big fan of that pick. So I'll get to mine real fast, and then we can talk about some of the ones that just happened. I think did I miss this guy being chosen? I might have. Okay. So I thought Dalton Schultz was still available. Apparently, he's not. Okay, so I'm just gonna take one of my sleepers. I ideally would like to have him in round 10 as opposed to round 9, but Romeo Doubs might be the number one receiver in Green Bay, and I have Aaron Rodgers, so I like the idea of pairing him with him. So in reverse order, Jacob, you took Pat Fryermuth. Want to talk about him, and then Kenny talk about Tyler Lockett and Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, Fryermuth was my favorite tight end on the board, and I didn't feel like waiting just in case some of them started to fly off the board, because it can get thin quick at the end of the tight end depth chart. So I took back-to-back Steelers pass-catching weapons. I think I have 2 of the top 3, but like Charlie said, it's going to be hard to figure out exactly. But at this point in the draft, I'm just banking on upside. So I like those, and I'll turn it over to you now, Kenny.
I was on mute there. Yeah, so I took Khalil Herbert because he is the best running back on the Chicago Bears by a pretty significant margin. I watched David Montgomery play, and he's just the guy. Like he's better than me, but he's just the guy. I watched Khalil Herbert play and go, this guy's clearly better. He was better than Montgomery last year, and then when Montgomery came back from injury, they gave him the ball again, which I just think is dumb. But there's a new offense and new system, a new day with Justin Fields, and maybe they realize that. I just cannot believe Dave Montgomery is going to be the primary ball carrier there in the second half of the year. I like Khalil Herbert a lot, and then Tyler Lockett's just a depth play. I always like Tyler Lockett. He's a nice player. He's the kind of guy, if you have an injury or a bye week, I feel comfortable throwing him in. I don't anticipate starting him a bunch, however.
Yeah. All right, Charlie, you went Melvin Gordon and Dawson Knox.
Yeah, well, with Gordon, we just grabbing some running back depth, and with he's kind of, we know what we're gonna get with him, and it's kind of, if Javonte Williams gets injured, then he becomes a guy that you want to start because he's gonna be the lead back.
Yeah.
And then with Dawson Knox, we took Kelsey. Second, third round there. And we love the Kelsey pick, but at the same time, he has had concussions. He can get dinged up. So we kind of, with that history, wanted to have a good number 2 tight end, because I could see him getting the ball a lot, which means he's going to get hit a lot. And I could definitely see him having some injuries that he's trying to play through. And so we just wanted to have a good backup tight end in case he gets hurt.
Yeah, it makes sense. Knox was the best tight end on my board, and I don't have a tight end yet, so I was going to consider him. But I'm also infamous for waiting on tight ends at the very end too. So like tight ends, kickers, defenses, I usually wait on. unless I'm getting like a crazy value play. Like I thought Schultz was still available. Like that was what I was considering, like Rodgers versus Schultz. But apparently I was just wasting my time because Schultz is off the board. So too bad for me. Anyway, I'm not. I still need a tight end, but I mean, all these guys are the same, really. So I'm just gonna wait on one. There's an interesting player I could draft, but for reasons I really don't want to. If he makes it back to me, I will. But I think at this point, I'm just going to look for. And I mentioned Raheem Mostert. He's the starting running back on Miami. He got the first carry in the preseason game where they played all their starters. I don't know why he's going this late. Like I know the injury history for sure, but at that point, like I could see him maybe like 7th, 8th, 9th round. But 11th round's crazy. I mean, he's a very good player when he's on the field. And Miami improved its offensive line so much this offseason. I expect them to run the ball well. So as long as he's healthy, and I mean, obviously that it might not be, but he's a functional player I can play.
And he's a system fit with McDaniel because they were together in San Fran. So you know what you're getting more with him than Edmonds is what I feel. That's why I would take, I'd probably take Mostert in the, like you said, 7th to 9th round, and Edmonds could go shortly thereafter, but I don't know. I feel like the durability concerns with Mostert are overblown, especially when you're comparing him to Edmonds there.
Yeah. Said Zach Ertz go. If I was going to take a tight end, I probably would have gone with Ertz, although he's banged up. He may not play. Cole Kmet also went, but like, I mean, really, like there. I'm looking at my cheat sheet, and there are 7 tight ends still in the top 20 players I have, and they're all the same. Really, it depends on matchups. So I don't really care. Like I'm fine with waiting a tight end until round 14.
I do like Kmet in this particular spot, having gone here. I mean, he had 60 catches last year on a bad team. I think that's his floor. I think he's got. I don't think he's an elite talent, but I think he's a good player with some upside. So if I were going to go tight end in this round, if he were on the board, I would have gone with Kmet here. But maybe that means I'm not. Maybe we'll race and see who can go to tight end last.
Well, you pick after me. Well, no, not in round 14. So you would have to pick a kicker or defense to win that race. So
oh man, all right, we'll see.
It's gonna be tough. No, I like Kmet more in PPR. I don't like him as much, although he's a fine pick in round 11 for sure. I don't like him as much in non-PPR because that team is going to be even more dreadful than they were last year. So I don't see them getting to the red zone that often, especially if they play a team with a good pass rush because their offensive line's so bad. But like against bad teams, like, yeah, he's going to have some good games for sure. Jacob, you just took Brian Robinson. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, he's on the NFI list because of the injuries he suffered in the shooting, but it sounds like he's going to be back sooner than expected, and they put him on that list so he wouldn't feel pressure to like rush back in 2 to 3 weeks. But I think by week 5, he's going to at least have a shot to play. So at this point, I will take him and just stash him. And if he's out for the year, he's out for the year, and I'll pick up someone else eventually. But Pacheco came off the board, and I was like, I think Robinson has the most upside, and I'm good at running back, so I can afford to take him.
Yeah, makes sense. So Alexander Madison was the guy I was referring to earlier. And I didn't take him because I have Dalvin Cook, so I didn't want 2 running backs. We talked about how where I like picking other people's handcuffs, not my own, because like if Madison were to start, that means my number 1 pick is gone. So that really cuts off my upside. Whereas like if you draft Madison and you don't have Cook and Cook gets hurt, like not only do you benefit, but one of the other people in your league gets hurt. So that's my philosophy there. But if he made it back to me in round 12, I think it was just way too good a value to pass on him. But
Walt, I want to just break. Sorry to interrupt. I think I'm going to lose the race. I think I'm going to go tight end here.
No!
I know it feels good. Sorry, I let you down. I let you down again.
Kenny, what is happening? It's like It's like there's like an evil version of Kenny who came out. So you took out Mike. You took Mike Gesicki to lose the race. Do you want to talk about why you like him so much?
I think there's like 3 different guys here that I like as a tight end, but there's not really any guys that I love at other positions that I feel like I have to have. And I've got kind of a plan for what I'm going to do in the next few rounds here. Some sleeper guys that I like, kicker and tight end. So I just said this is kind of my last. It was either going to get him or get whatever was left over in round 15. I like Gesicki enough to take him here in the 12th rather than waiting around 15 for whatever's left over.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the 7 guys that that I had. He's definitely. I mean, he's a good tight end. There's just so many guys like him. So I'm making my last. What is this? My last non tight end, non kicker, non defense pick. So let's see what's gonna happen. So let's see if this guy's even still available. I think he is. So Jerick McKinnon's there, the last of the Chiefs running backs to go, but he was so good in the playoffs, and he was featured on the first drive. It's probably going to be. I mean, they're probably going to split the workload 3 ways in Kansas City, and so it's just going to be bad. But if for some reason they decide to give Jerick McKinnon more touches, I think he's going to do well.
Yeah, I almost picked him instead of the Denver defense. I probably should have. To be honest, I forgot what round it was. And I have my queue. The defenses were near the top, so I was like, oh, it must be time to take defense. But yeah, now I'm overloaded. I got 3 Broncos in my starting lineup, a quarterback, receiver, and defense. That doesn't line up very well, but they're playing the Seahawks, so they should all do well, I hope, in week 1.
It's fitting for how we've drafted.
Yeah. There's always one round I screw up or I forget what I'm supposed to be doing, and that was the one.
That's funny. Yeah, we looks like we have. I was wrong before because looks like we have 15 rounds instead of 16. So Kenny, you would have won the race. Oh, or actually, no, I still would have won. I'm doing my math wrong, but yeah, we have 15 rounds left. So it would have been the 13th round. So anyway, so Rashad White just went. Charlie's on the clock again. So James Robinson's interesting. Charlie, you want to talk about him and Van Jefferson?
Yeah, we just filling out depth here, and I think with Robinson, we get a guy who's produced well in the past, is still young, was had injuries, but if ETN does get injured again, then Robinson should be the workhorse, and so I think he's a solid backup as a late round pick. And then Van Jefferson, similar kind of thing where Kupp and Allen Robinson have had injuries in the past. So, if they start dealing with injuries again, then I think Van Jefferson could be worth having. So we'll this part of the draft, you're just kind of filling out your bench anyway.
I like Jefferson. He's been I don't know if I got him in our other league, but I've taken him a lot in our mock drafts. I like he has so much potential. He's had some big games last year, and if one of Cooper Kupp or Allen Robinson were to go down, he's going to have some great games just because of the offense.
Yeah, and I really, man, I am. We were targeting Darrell Henderson because I kind of reached out to some friends around the league, and I heard that Cam Akers is in a bit of the doghouse right now. Really? He may not play in week 1, so we were looking and we were thinking of taking Darrell Henderson late, but Honey Badgers, which is a friend of ours named Mike, who lives up in Wisconsin, grabbed him right before us. So good pick there, Mike.
It's breaking news here. We'll have to adjust the stock report based on that info. That's great. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, I reached out there and that because I really liked Cam Akers coming out, and I thought he had big time potential. And then so he was a guy that I was in my practice drafts. I was looking at 4th round, heavily, but then after hearing that, I was like, oh, I better not. So yeah, but I like that Higbee pick that you just made as well.
Yeah, I mean, for the same reason as Jefferson, like they're thinner at receiver now this year,
Right.
and if Akers is out, that's one fewer weapon that they have. So I was deciding between him and someone else, but I have that other tight end's teammate on my team, so that is why I went with Higbee. I mean, he was one of the other guys I was considering. Dave, who is drafted right next to me, he says, "Walt, your team is terrible." So maybe Dave shouldn't print out my cheat sheet next time. We had a question here real quick. It says, I'm in a keeper league. Would you rather keep Jalen Hurts at round 8 or Hollywood Brown at round 12?
Ooh.
Is a single quarterback, not a 2 quarterback league?
I mean, he didn't say so otherwise.
I think I would take Brown on the 12th. I feel like it's better value.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I like Hurts a lot this year. I think he can win MVP. But round 12, like, I mean, you're just taking flyers, and to get a legitimate receiver, especially for the first 6 weeks, I would keep Brown.
Yeah, that's like a round 12 value or you're getting a round 6 guy at a round 12 value. Like Jalen Hurts would be like getting a round 6 guy at an 8th round value. That's how I would think about it. So yeah, I'd go Brown too.
Okay. So do we have other picks? So Jacob, you took Zamir White.
Yeah, I wanted one more running back just in case Brian Robinson doesn't come back. And White has the most upside of anyone in the Raiders running back room. I like Josh Jacobs okay, and I don't wish harm upon him or Kenny's team here, but I think McDaniels might mix it up a little more. And if Zamir White gets a hot hand, he could have a couple big games. But I think he's one of my favorite handcuffs, so getting him at this point is nice.
Yeah, I mean, I like him quite a bit too, and they like him as far as I know. So Kenny, you took Dante Foreman, and then your next pick. Do you want to talk about them?
Yeah, Deontay Foreman, got him in several drafts already. I think he's a decent player, not a great player, but I think he's better than Chuba Hubbard by a significant amount. And if McCaffrey were to be injured, I think Foreman has proven that he could be the guy that can handle the bulk of the carries. I also think Carolina would be wise to give McCaffrey less touches. They're like running him into the ground every year, and they wonder why he's injured. So if they do smarten up, maybe Foreman gets mixed in more. Is my thought process there.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good approach. I agree that Foreman's better than Hubbard for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. And you just took Tennessee's defense.
Yeah, based on week 1 matchup, I'm sure I'll have, I'll probably have 25 different defenses at some point in the year.
I actually like the Giants' offense better than what we've seen before. They made 3 upgrades to the offensive line. It's gonna be the first time Daniel Jones is playing behind a good line.
Has Daniel Jones gotten glasses? Because the last time I checked, I don't think he can see.
Actually, I mean, Daniel Jones is like all kidding aside, like I feel like he played better last year than people gave him credit for. He just had nothing around him. I mean, like he had so many players go down. Like Saquon Barkley got hurt. Kenny Galladay was just terrible. Kadarius Toney looked great, and then he got hurt. Sterling Shepard was banged up. Just like he had no help last year, and he had some nice wins. Like he went into New Orleans and won, and he played well in that game. And then he got hurt at the end of the year, so they had to start Jake Fromm and Mike Glennon. But I think the Giants are underrated this year. I think they can. I don't think it's crazy to think that they can make the playoffs in the NFC just because the NFC is so bad. I think there might be like 3 teams in the NFC I think have no chance of the playoffs. It would be like the Bears, the Falcons, and the Seahawks. I think every other team in the NFC could make the playoffs just because the NFC is so bad.
That's a good point.
Okay, I am up. I have to take a defense, I think. So if this is real life, I would not take a defense, but we are forced to because of the computer. So I like the Jacobs pick of Denver earlier. I've been taking them a lot. So obviously can't take them. The Saints are interesting. They play Atlanta week 1. I think that's what I'm going to go with. I'm not crazy about it, but they should be able to give Marcus Mariota some problems. Although I think that might be a close game. I'm not sure yet. But I think they're the best defense that I saw. I did not look very hard. I'll say that. If I feel better about a defense, I was just picking them up. I don't think it's a big deal.
There's one defense that I really like that's still available just for week 1. You can probably figure it out pretty easily.
Actually, I'm very curious about that now. Let's see. Maybe. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm disappointed in myself for not scrolling down further.
That's okay. You got a good one. So
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I'm very disappointed in myself. I'm looking at that. It's it just sticks out really. We'll see if anyone takes them. If not, I'm gonna rush and add them as soon as this draft's over.
Yeah, I don't know why they're ranked so low on the NFL.com rankings. Always jar me a bit because they're different than the ones that I normally look at, like on your site. And it's some of the defensive ones do not add up to me.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I prefer practicing on Fantasy Football Calculator, but as the draft gets closer, I do more on NFL.com because of their rankings, but I really don't like their rankings that much. I read Waltz and I think the Football Calculator is better than NFL.com.
Can I not take a kicker? Well, let me, because I really want this defense. I'm not going to do it because then people know it, and then I won't get that. So is deleted available for kicker? Let's see. I got to take this Melvis guy. Let's go with Melvis as my kicker. So he's not on a team yet, but he could be good in the future.
I've never heard of that guy.
No,
never.
I haven't either. It's kind of it's extremely rare that one of us would not have heard of him.
Point of order question: Are we obligated to draft a kicker? I mean, am I allowed to? I don't know the rules. I
was wondering that myself. Actually, I did not want to draft a kicker. I wanted to draft other defense, but I didn't want to give it away.
Charlie Campbell, is there an official rule that we have to draft a starting?
I don't believe so. We didn't put it into the league there's nothing I put in. Right. So yeah, I think you could get away with not drafting a kicker. I think past year, I think Walt didn't draft a defense, and then just you picked one up right before the game started. Nice. So I don't think you have to draft a kicker or defense.
With that in mind, I'm going to draft one fly. This is a significant flyer. I'm going to draft Trey Sermon only because he was waived by the Niners, and and the Eagles just picked him up today. I'll claim off the waivers, and I'm not confident in any of the Eagles' current running backs. I mean, they're okay, but I really like Trey Sermon coming out of college. I love this talent. I thought for sure he was going to be an NFL star. And obviously, if a team cuts you, it's because you probably suck. I mean, the Niners coaching staff knows better than I do. But that's coaching staff has also shown that they have the propensity to get guys in a doghouse unfairly. And so I wonder if just Trey Sermon just did something, the coaching staff didn't like him, Shanahan didn't like him, and then maybe a fresh start will be helpful because I just love him as a talent. And if not, then I'll just cut him next week.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like going for the Flyers. I was glad to see that you could do that in this league. There's something to remember for next year because I'm opposed to drafting kickers and defenses unless you really need to, because you might as well go for the Flyers and the upside. You never know who might get hurt. So just
right.
Yeah. All right. So if any of you guys have to go, just go. I was going to say we can go over our teams, but if you have to go,
yeah, I got Purdue and Penn State
nice.
Getting rolling here pretty soon, so I gotta get to pregame work. So But great chatting with you guys. It's a really fun league. Thanks for making it great. We'll keep tabs during the season and make sure that we come here, Sophie. Come here. Come here.
Nice.
Sophie, little Sophie's gonna come say hi. Come here, honey. Come here. Here's Sophie Campbell.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. That's the real draft expert in the house.
Yeah,
Right there.
That's awesome.
he's the boss of the house. Wait, honey, say hi.
Hey.
Nice, blew you guys a kiss. You
Thanks,
guys
Charlie.
take care.
All right, Charlie.
care.
Take care,
Bye.
Charlie.
See ya. All right. I guess in draft order, or I guess reverse draft order. Let's go. Kenny, then Jacob, and then I'll discuss the team. So, Kenny, you want to talk about your team?
I mostly like this team. I think it's that I've got good players that are safe. I don't feel like I've got tremendous upside. I look at Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb. I like them. They both have reasons to think their upside could be capped. Michael Thomas could have been a phenomenal pick. We look back and go, oh my goodness, he should have been a first rounder. Or he can come back and go, yeah, he's just a guy now. He didn't recover from the injury. So I think that's that. I think I've got a team I like. I don't love because I'm not juiced about the upside. But it wasn't like I missed out on lots of players. It wasn't like when I was drafting, there were at any spot that I thought to myself, oh, I really should have taken this guy. I just kind of think the way it fell, maybe there's one or two things I'd do slightly differently, but not dramatic. There's a couple players I really like. I really like Trevor Lawrence. I guess I didn't talk about him when we were drafting him.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
I love him. I think the talent is there. I think the offense could take a major step forward. We know Doug Peterson loves to throw the ball. There's no doubt about that. And I really like the addition of Christian Kirk. I actually was going to draft Christian Kirk right before. That's one of the guys that kind of got taken. You took him right before I was looking at him. I really think that offense could be good. I think Lawrence, he could be in the vying to be a kind of a top 3, top 4 type quarterback. So I really like him. If that happens, then this team looks really good. Josh Jacobs as well has a similar thing. Deontay Johnson, all these guys I think are good. All of them have some limited upside though. There's something about these guys that make you want to go, well, I mean, we could squint and see Josh Jacobs not quite being the running back we want him to be, or Deontay Johnson, maybe quarterback there is just a total disaster. Antonio Gibson, maybe there's a reason why he was in the doghouse, and so I'm looking at my team going, I like it. I think this is likely a playoff team, but gosh, I think I've got a nervousness in a couple spots.
I like your team quite a bit. There are some question marks. Thomas, obviously, don't know how he's going to bounce back, but I like that pick that you made. I think he has great upside, and I like Trevor Lawrence too. Yeah, we didn't talk about that, but if I had waited, if I had not drafted Rodgers, Lawrence would have definitely been someone I considered. So Jacob, you want to talk about your team?
Yeah, my team, I'm pretty happy with it. I took way too many Broncos. I took four Broncos with 15 picks is not a great. I also almost took Albert Okwuegbunam, so I would have had 5, and that would have been a real disaster. But, I feel like I got good exposure at running back. I've got Eckler and Swift as my starters, and, there's some injury risk with them, but if they stay healthy, they're going to do a lot this year. We'll see if Eckler over Mixon was the right move. That's the one that I was questioning. It was a true toss-up. But then you go Dameon Pierce, Damian Harris, Brian Robinson, and Zamir White. I feel like the 2 Damians are going to be good backups that I can rotate into the lineup. And then if either Robinson or White pans out, I'm going to be really deep at running back. Receiver looks pretty good. I think Pittman's connection with Matt Ryan makes him a safe number 1 guy. And then I took some swings on Gabe Davis and George Pickens and DJ Chark, some big play threats that could end up booming. But if they don't quite work out, I have Jerry Jeudy, and he'll stack with Russell Wilson most weeks to make a nice 1-2 punch there for me. And, the extra Broncos at kicker and defense hurt me a little bit in the early stages of the season maybe, but I won't be keeping that Denver defense beyond week 2 probably because their schedule is going to get really hard at some point. So as I cycle through defense and different kickers, I'm sure this team will be fine. But I like the depth that I got. I agree with Kenny's assessment. There were some guys that I was like, oh, I passed on them, but I don't feel like I missed anyone. I feel like we were in pretty good shape where we were drafting to land guys we wanted. So I think my team has a pretty high floor, but I think their ceiling's pretty high too. So I think I should contend so long as my running backs don't get too beat up.
Yeah, and I think you can say any running back is injury prone. Like there are no safe running backs. Like I don't care who it is, really. I mean, they could all go down. So yeah, I love your team as well. With the Broncos, I'm not like the only guy I'd be concerned about is McManus because he kind of conflicts with Wilson. Because you want the offense to stall in the red zone so you get the field goals, but you want Wilson to throw a touchdown. So like that's the only conflict. Like otherwise, like you're fine playing Wilson, Judy, and Denver's defense. Like you can start the ball. That's the only, and you can just get a kicker. I mean, unless you really wanted Melvis, and then I could trade him to you. So I am my team is Aaron Rodgers throwing to hopefully Romeo Doubs by the end of the year. But in the meantime, I have Mike Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown as my top two receivers. I love Williams. I think he could lead the league in receiving just because of how explosive that Chargers offense could be. And Brandon Cooks, I think, is a fine third receiver. My running backs, Dalvin Cook, Javonte Williams. I think that's great. It's the first time I've gotten any of those in my leagues. But I like him a lot. Obviously, Cook has the injury concerns, but like I said, any running back can go down. Travis Etienne has a ton of upside. Kareem Hunt does as well. I talked about Rodgers, and then Higbee is like whatever. It's like I'm going to play mashups with the tight ends, and I think Higbee matches up well with Buffalo's defense. Their linebackers. That's kind of the weak point of Buffalo's defense. So I think Higbee could have a good first game. If not, then I'll just pick up someone else. So those are my players, or my teams. Window closes in 6 minutes, so we can't really discuss all the other teams. So let's just say like final thoughts, and if not, anything to plug. Let's go from bottom to top here. Jacob, then Kenny.
Yeah, I think final thoughts. This is a good reminder. If you're drafting standard, you need to take at least one running back in your first two picks. If not two, because if you load up on running backs early, they're going to look better. PPR, you can have a little more fun and take a little different approach, but you need two running backs early in standard. If not the first 2 rounds, then the first 3 rounds. Unless you're like Charlie and you're picking at the end of that first round, you end up with Kelsey and Evans on your lap, and then you'll be okay there. But yeah, other than that, you can follow me on Twitter at Jacob Camenker. I will tweet out some of my picks, my latest work over at sportingnews.com, which you can check out for all your latest NFL needs and fantasy analysis over there. Yeah, just follow me on Twitter. If you have questions, send them my way. If I see them, I'll answer them. And yeah, the season's a week away. I am pumped up for it. So let's hope it's another good one.
Side note, I don't know that I would go receiver in the first 2 rounds in PPR either. I would want to double down on that reminder to everyone. Just like every time I go, don't take a running back, at least 2 in the first 3, and most likely the first 2. I hate my team every time. And so that's just I'm willing to, I just think it's easier to find receivers in the middle rounds. Maybe some people disagree. I really don't like my teams, but I don't go running back. That's not the case every year, but just this year. I will go one hot take for you, Walt. I can't stand St. Brown as a player. I think he's just a guy, and I didn't have him in my top 100. And so I'm very curious to see where he turns out. I think I like your team generally. Love the Aaron Rodgers pick and where you got him, and love Michael Williams. Man, you and I disagree on St. Brown pretty significantly.
Wow.
So I think he's just a guy. If what he did in December last year was all just PPR garbage type. He's just, check down. Anyone could do what he did. I don't think he's a special player. I don't know how long Jameson Williams is going to be out if he's out. Jameson Williams is out a long time. Maybe St. Brown's he gets enough garbage time to make it work. But I foresee DeAndre Swift actually being the guy that picks up that slack. I think Swift's the guy that's got the upside in that offense. But I think I like the rest of your team. So I just wanted to be on the record to say that so that we can argue about that in the years to come. Nothing to plug. I don't have any websites or anything because all the wisdom I have, I want to keep it to myself because I'm selfish. So screw all y'all.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, we'll see about. It's fun, always fun to argue. We've had many arguments over the years, but I like St. Brown a lot. He reminds me of Hines Ward. And I think Detroit's offense is going to be very explosive this year. Actually, we haven't really talked about that because it's Jacob and I have mentioned how much we love the Lions. I have the Lions going 11-6 on the site, so I'm very bullish on anything Detroit. So I like St. Brown, but you could be right. Like maybe it's Jameson Williams and DJ Chark at the end of the year, and St. Brown disappoints me, but I hope not because he's on all my teams. So anyway, I'm at WalterFootball.com. Tons of fantasy content as usual. We have sleepers, busts. I posted an article saying players who can win your league, just like high upside guys that you could take in the mid rounds. And we're going to have picks against the spread on Tuesday. You're going to have them posted live as usual. And then Tuesday evening, Jacob and I will be discussing the week 1 slate. And I love some of the games already. I already bet 2 of them, but I like some of them that I have not bet. Just waiting on a better number. So I can't wait for that. So we'll see you guys in 5 days. But anyway, Jacob, Kenny, is great drafting with you, and good luck this year.
Thanks. Good to see you guys.
Hope all your players get injured.
All right, see you.